if you're in the stage of still exploring the nature of reality, then the question is consciousness fundamental is of utmost importance for you. Otherwise, for the ones who have already gone through this phase of exploring through scientific means or even spiritually, you already know the answer. What is the nature of consciousness? And is consciousness fundamental? So let us see what quantum physics is suggesting in 2026. Of course, the momentum is from almost a century now. So, if you're in the early stage of exploring the nature of reality, let us start from the point what if we have been asking the wrong question for centuries? Not how does matter produce consciousness, but rather we should be asking how does consciousness appear as matter? And also the question, are we particles that somehow became aware over time, or we are the foundational awareness that is temporarily appearing as particles? So in 2026, quantum foundations are once again stirring this old question, the ancient question, which is of utmost importance for the human consciousness to evolve. And interestingly, the language sounds strangely familiar to what our saints and sages and mystics have been saying for centuries. So, this question at its deepest level is invoking an individual to reverse the way of investigation. That is, instead of consciousness being something that emerges from complex brain activity, it proposes that consciousness may be the ground from which brain, body, space, and even time appears, not as an object in the universe, but the field in which the universe itself is manifested. Now, this is not anti science, or we are not trying to downplay the importance of scientific discoveries. Rather, this is more of a pre science. It is simply asking that what is required for anything to be known at all. And yes, the answer is very simple. It is the foundational awareness, the awareness which knows the concepts of physics, the awareness which knows the spiritual concepts, the awareness which knows the religion. So one of the foundational problems that quantum mechanics observe is the observer problem. The quantum experiments still show that observation affects the outcomes. So whether we interpret that strongly or weakly, the point is measurement is not passive, it is extremely relevant and in the forefront. Reality behaves quite differently when observed. So the question still remains, what exactly is an observer? Now this provides a reason for the scientific inquiry to start with the nature of observer and then go with the observation. Another famous problem is the hard problem of consciousness, which is now neuroscience can map and correlate the movement of electricity in the brain. So the neuronal pathways can be observed from point A to point B on a particular activation or particular input. So these brain states and experiences, they move together. But correlation, the neural correlates of consciousness, is not the causation itself. No equation in this world currently can explain how an electrical activity turns into a taste of mango. Now this experience itself, it remains unexplained and it will continue to be so. No matter what the future promise is going to be, we may completely map every experience available for a human in terms of its neuronal activity, but that can never ever reflect the subjective quality experience an individual has. So now from this perspective of pure subjectivity, there is no hard problem of consciousness. The problem only exists when we reduce the observation to experience. So interpretations like participatory realism, relational quantum mechanics, and also information-based models, now these are gaining tractions. And many physicists are cautiously discussing the reality may be relational. It is not independent, existing in fixed forms. Now this shifts the conversation dramatically. And some physicists propose that information is more fundamental than matter. But information requires a knower. Information to whom? So now that question quietly reintroduces consciousness. So the ancient contemplative traditions have long stated that consciousness is fundamental and is primary. Now, this is not a belief as a direct observation, it is. When identity shifts from body mind to pure witnessing, the world is experienced as appearing within awareness and not outside of it. Now, following this line of thought, let us try to pose a couple of questions which a scientist might ask at this point. One is consciousness leading to the collapse of the wave function? For one wave function, for those who are new, wave function is a probability wave which is supposed to stay dormant with infinite potential, but upon observation, the wave becomes a particle. That is a probability of a state in which things can be. It becomes more certain upon observation. Well, not necessarily. So now the claim is even subtler. The question is whether any physical description is complete without accounting for experience. Even if collapse is fully physical, the existence of experience itself remains unexplained with the materialistic way. And another question could be, where is the empirical evidence that consciousness is fundamental? Now, the empirical evidence is that experience is undeniable. All the data, equations, instruments, and experiments appear within the awareness. So, the proposal is very philosophical in nature, but it is grounded in the immediacy of experience. Now, it reframes the ontological perspective and not the laboratory procedure for evaluating the nature of reality. So, moving on, now, if you are a spiritual seeker, you might ask this question: if consciousness is fundamental, why do I still feel limited and separate? Well, this is because identification contracts around your thoughts, memories, and sensation. The sense of being separate self is an appearance within the awareness, and it is not the awareness itself. The limitation is experiential and it is not fundamental. The more you try to observe everything, no exceptions, every perception you have, the more you spend time in this contemplation. Of course, it does involve setting up your body, relaxing your body, and further contemplating the root cause of being in this moment, being the awareness. Another question for the spiritual seeker is, if everything is consciousness, now does that mean nothing matters? Well, it's quite the opposite. If everything arises within the same field of awareness, then compassion is natural. Alright, so let's not keep this quite theoretical. Like always, we will start with a small practice to experientially realize that consciousness is fundamental. So you can sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take a deep, slow breath. Continue to breathe for the next few seconds. The guidance is almost the same. First, you notice the sounds. They appear, they disappear, and you are aware of them. And now notice the sensations in the body: pressure, temperature, some subtle vibrations if you can sense. They all appear in awareness. At the level of your mind, you may notice some thoughts, some images, There can be a running commentary about this situation, your past, or something else. They also appear to awareness. Now, here is the key shift. Instead of focusing on what appears, just turn your attention towards what is aware of these things that are appearing in your space of awareness. Not as an object, but as the open space in which everything is happening. This has been the case always. Now, this awareness does not have a shape, so you don't have to imagine what awareness looks like. Now, rest in the space of pure observation. Be in this field in which the whole universe is appearing. It's not about believing, just notice. Take one last deep breath, slowly. Now you can open your eyes at your will. Keep it slow as well. Now, maybe consciousness is fundamental or not, and maybe matter is how consciousness expresses itself. All of this can be a theoretical framework initially. So, do not worry about this aspect of exploration. Just make sure that your goal is always to know the reality as it is. So in 2026, physics is still cautious. It has evolved a lot. So just consider the possibility that what you're looking for is what is looking.